A mysterious curse sweeps across the land and removes all color. So, what do you do? In the case of Europa, a person who lost both of her parents to this curse, you train for years, you enter this castle alone, and then you immediately get your ass kicked. Welcome to 9 Years of Shadows is a simple but solid Metroidvania developed by Halberd Studios. During my entire time with this game, I thought that it was fun, but I felt like it was lacking in terms of diversity with combat. You have a light attack, you have a heavy attack, you have a charge attack, which you'll get earlier on in the game, and you have various armor abilities that are mostly used for movement tech. I thought that this game is probably best when it is in motion, when everything is working together. It's roughly around 5 to 8 hours. It took me about 6 hours to complete. And I would say in terms of challenge, maybe on the low end of Metroidvanias. If you're looking for something like Hollow Knight or Dead Cells, you won't find that type of challenge here. I really feel like this is like one of the perfect Metroidvania titles for beginners or individuals who are, looking to get into the genre and want a slightly easier experience than going into Hollow Knight and just getting your soul crushed constantly. I found 9 Years of Shadows to be fairly charming. Early on, you befriend a teddy bear, a floating ghost teddy bear to be exact, named Apino. And Apino will act as your health restorative and as a teddy bear gun. And I did not stutter. He shoots projectiles that can be used to damage enemies and solve certain puzzles. I found that to be hilarious and charming. So if you happen to deplete your light bar, and that is shared in regard to how much damage you can take, and also the ammunition that Apino uses, you're going to have an opportunity to do a tactical reload. Didn't stutter. A bar will appear above your head. There's a small blue section that you will have to actually hit R2 on, or right trigger. And once you hit that, it automatically gives Apino all of the light back. So then he's useful again in combat or to solve puzzles. If you happen to miss it, he just kind of falls limp. He's still floating around, which looks really funny when you see it on the screen. And you can just hold the right trigger and it'll hug Apino, and then you get about half to about 3/4 of your light back. I found the animation to be pretty entertaining. Now, like all Metroidvanias, 9 Years of Shadows is all about exploration. So as you're progressing through the castle, you're going to be able to find new armor, and that armor is going to give you abilities, and these can be like resistances to fire, poison. It's going to help you maneuver through water, that type of stuff. So none of that's really new. What they also do is that when you find these pieces of armor, you enter in these paintings, and in these paintings are going to be abilities that are specific to that armor. When you get these abilities, they allow you to do certain traversals. So if you have the Siren ability with the Poseidon armor, you're able to go up and float through waterfalls and do these really hard quick dives. If you get the Helios armor, which is your flame armor, your resistance to fire, and then you're also able to kind of float. And all that really works well. It's really competent. I wouldn't say it's anything you haven't seen before, but it is pretty cool in which as you go through a certain section, you don't necessarily have to be encumbered with tapping the bumpers to switch into an armor. Instead, when you're passing through a certain section, your armor automatically switches for you. So therefore, it's suited for that. And that's why I talk about the simplicity of it. This game is a really user-friendly Metroidvania because it does a lot of the work for you. And when you're starting to flow through multiple sections that have water, poison, flame, all that type of stuff, the armor switches are so quick and so fluid, it just feels good to maneuver through those areas. I feel like where the game struggles, at least for me to maintain my attention, was in the boss fights. There are, I would say, 5 or 6 major fights in this game that are really engaging and really fun, and they do a good job of testing the player in being comfortable with the armor abilities that you have. Those are completely fine. Those are cool. They are actually pretty challenging. They can be sometimes become bullet hell, so if you're not comfortable with that, because it's kind of strange. You'll go through an area, you'll meet certain sub characters, certain NPCs that'll tell you like, hey, here's this mission, and you'll fight a sub boss. And the sub bosses are so simplistic and so easy to fight that they only have like 2 to 3 attacks, and you'll just kind of blow right through them. When you get to the bosses, however, they start for whatever reason being like this massive difficulty spike. You'll get stuff just thrown at you at all points of the screen. They cover a wide area. They will do a ton of damage. These are super fun and super engaging. I just wish that a lot of the enemies and sub bosses followed suit, because there are enemies in this game that do not move. They don't. You can cheese almost every small enemy or minor enemy in this game. Sub bosses, I had one fight where I literally stood still and just used Alpino to shoot projectiles at it. Did enough damage, broke my meter, regained my light gauge, and then just continued. And that was it, and I defeated it. And I felt like the lack of challenge with the sub bosses was pretty frustrating, because when you get to some of these bigger boss fights, they're so engaging and so different that it feels like there's a bit of a balance issue there. And I believe that's probably one of the bigger issues I had with 9 Years of Shadows. That kind of imbalance, I feel like, really does set you up for failure when you get to the final boss, because that fight is fantastic, one, but two, completely on a different level than every other boss in this game, even some of the major boss fights. I was stunned by the amount of shit that was happening. I had a great time with it because it really got me engaged, really had, forced me to focus. I love that. I just felt like, where was that challenge the entire time? Because generally when you get to the end of most Metroidvanias, the bosses ratchet up the intensity. And I felt like there were some bosses here that were really challenging early on and then really easy later. But when you get to that final boss, it's a phenomenal fight, believe me. But my goodness, it's completely different from the entire rest of the game. With that gripe out of the way, I feel like a lot of love has to be given to the art and the music. This is a beautiful game. It is visually stunning, and I love the animation and the care you can see in all the different characters, right? Like I said, when you see Apino like lose all of his light, he just kind of goes limp and floats around. It's like, sir, it felt like they took the art team took so much time to kind of perfectly draw some of these enemies. They look so good. I loved it. The music everywhere in this game, it's a banger. It's fantastic. It really helps you kind of like move through the game. Like, you feel like you're getting into a rhythm because of that music. It's so lively. It's so fun. I enjoyed every bit of it. In terms of side content, it's pretty bare, and that's going to be really disappointing, because really the side missions boil down to finding a musician, bringing them to the theater, killing a sub boss or a couple sub bosses, and being rewarded. That's it. You can search around and explore areas for blue notes and red notes. The blue notes increase your light bar. The red notes increase your health bar. You can also find armor pieces that will help you upgrade your armor. And you can only upgrade your armor once. Like I said, the game is very short. I will say, though, that in terms of the narrative, I wasn't fully engaged till I got to near the end of the game, because then it reveals a nice little twist. It shows off kind of Europa's character a little more. And you do get to see her interact with certain characters. She's kind of standoffish at first, but then opens up. And it really tries to hit home this theme of overcoming grief. And I think it does a really good job at expressing that. I do feel that if you are a veteran of Metroidvanias, I don't think I can convince you to get this game because of its simplicity. I do think that you should be open-minded and give it a try, especially at its price point, currently, at $15 on Steam. But it normally retails at $20. I feel like you can get a lot of bang out of your buck for that. I think it's, got enough to offer to be worth $20. I will say that if you are a new player and you want to see what a Metroidvania is like, I think you can't go wrong with 9 Years of Darkness. It is a labor of love. You can see it that the developers really cared about this game, from the art style all the way to the music, all the way to some of the animated scenes. It is, I think, beautiful. I would recommend this game for new players and some who are super fans of the genre. If you are a hardcore fan and you're looking to scratch that Hollow Knight itch, or you're looking to have something satiate you before Silksong comes out, I don't think I can recommend this game to you, but I will say that I enjoyed my time with 9 Years of Shadows. And those are my thoughts. So if you liked the video, please like, share, and subscribe. And leave a comment below on your favorite Metroidvania game or a game you're looking forward to. If it's Silk Song, sure, mash that out. I'm Ken from Pixelated Thoughts, and I'll talk to you next time.